Hello and welcome to another IELTS lesson. Today we are going to be looking at IELTS Writing Task 2. This lesson will be slightly longer than my normal videos. This is because I'm actually going to go through the stages of a particular type of essay and give relevant information which I think will be of benefit to students. So, less of me and let's begin. Our task is, to what extent do you agree or disagree essay? So it's an agree-disagree, but to what extent? This makes the difference. To what extent you're saying basically how much do you agree or disagree. So please bear in mind this is different to do you agree or disagree. That is simply a yes or no. How much do you agree or disagree? I completely disagree. I totally disagree. It's different. So please make sure that you are aware of the two different points of the essay. Okay, our steps to write this kind of essay. Firstly, we identify the topic. Then we identify the task. We decide what position we're going to take. And then we brainstorm our ideas as to why you take your position, followed by making your plan. So this title is from August 2018, so it's a recent topic. And the title is, Some people think that governments and private individuals should pay to clean up the pollution that they produce, not the government. To what extent do you agree or disagree? So, the first thing we do, identify the topic. The topic is about companies and people paying to clean their pollution as opposed to the government. So some people say that individuals and companies should do this rather than the government. So that's what the topic is. So the task is, how much do you agree or how much do you disagree with that sentence or statement? So for this essay we're going to take the position of completely agreeing with it, 100%, just to make the essay easier. Of course you can have a different stance, you can disagree with it, but the structure of the essay and most of the content remains the same. So once we've decided that we're going to agree with it or disagree with it, we have to start thinking of our reasons for agreeing or disagreeing. So I've written some reasons why we agree with it. This is our brainstorming section. This is where you've got to do your thinking. Ideas which agree. I've just put them in blue to make them easier to see. I've written a few down. The government has many more important things to pay for. We produce it, so we should pay for it. We meaning businesses and citizens. Remember, these are notes for your benefit, so they only have to make sense to you. I've written down them so they are a bit more understandable for you when you're watching this video, but when you make your notes will be for you to understand. My third point is, it will make people and companies more responsible for what they produce, the waste that they produce, the pollution they produce. Okay, moving on. The last thing is, it takes the burden off the government. Now, there are 4 ideas that I just thought of within a minute or two. This is what you've got to get used to doing because of the time element. You only have a certain amount of time to plan. 10 minutes I recommend, and most teachers recommend as a maximum. So don't waste time. Think of some ideas. And a precursor to this is read about these kind of topics. Pollution, government, spending, they combine. So read, look at the vocabulary. and read some documents, read newspapers, read anything that talks about these kind of topics. That's where you can get your ideas from. You can also get your ideas from what your government does and how your country deals with pollution. Use it. Okay, so I've changed the colour for our supporting information. I've just put supporting information just for my own benefit. You could do this differently. So I know what my titles are and I know how I'm going to support them. So, healthcare, education, transportation are more important as everyone needs them. People and companies need to take the responsibility. It will change the way we treat pollution if it hits our pockets. To hit our pockets means we have to pay for it. The money is in our pocket, so it's an expression that we use. The government can allocate more funds to emergencies. For example, things like natural disasters. I know I'm not talking about natural disasters in this essay, but it's just an idea of emergency. This might not be the idea that I choose, but I'm getting all the information down so I can look at it and then decide. Okay, which ideas are you going to choose? I've chosen in green and in red. It will make people and companies more responsible. That's my primary idea. And I've also written a quick supporting sentence or some ideas. It will change the way we think about pollution. Many companies put measures in place to reduce costs whenever there is legislation which makes them responsible. Example, households facing fines for not recycling correctly. So I'm going to use this as part of my supporting information. Your sentences don't have to be this long. I'm writing this as a demonstration for you. The second thing is the government has more important things to fund. And my supporting thing for that is education, transport, job creations, healthcare. These things are more important. Plus, now we have a kind of summary sentence. I like to do this because for me I find it clearer to step my way through. That way I can see what my summary sentence is, so I know what I'm going to place before it. So a couple of summary sentences for the first idea. Placing the burden of responsibility on the person and businesses causes them to rethink their approach, especially when money is concerned. The second one is there is clear evidence that we must pay for our pollution and allow the state to fund more critical issues like healthcare, education, as examples. So, our paragraph structure never changes. 2 paragraphs here, one for each idea. We have our topic sentence, our supporting information, our example, and our summary sentence. Summary sentences are not always necessary, but I would recommend that you do them. We also need to think of vocabulary relevant to the topic. So pollution, rubbish, garbage, recycle, dispose of, waste, environmentally friendly, contribute to. Responsibility, onus, take measures, put in place, attitudes, thinking, penalties, rethink. These are just some words that we use as we explain these things. So now we've got all our information down, so we decide we're going to move on to writing our essay. Okay, some people think that, companies and private individuals should pay to clean up the pollution that they produce, not the government. The reason that I've put this in different colours is because I've actually paraphrased it in exactly the same way. What I've done is taken each phrase and I've changed it like that, because I think this is an easier way for you to do it. If your grammar is not at the level where you can completely change the sentence around, and you need to be good to do that. My suggestion is take each chunk and see if you can change it. So for this, I've written, the way I do this is I write down the words that I cannot change. Sometimes there'll be words that you literally cannot change. For example, dates, names of places, names of things. They cannot change. So certain things cannot change. Here, everything can be changed if we want it to, but we don't have to. So, as I said, words which can be changed. All of the words can be changed, although we do not need to change everything. Okay, what I've done is, there are those who believe that, instead of some people think that. Businesses together with private citizens. Companies and private individuals should shoulder, oh, that says shoulders, my mistake, should shoulder the costs of disposing of, so should pay to clean up the pollution that they produce. I've just said they're pollutants. Pollutants is a noun about things that pollute. So I've used the synonym. Rather than the state, not the government. You could even say instead of the government. So my suggestion is, if you're not very good at taking the whole title apart and reassembling it because you don't have that grammar skill or your level's not that good, take it in chunks. Practice a lot. Do this a lot. Practice. This will make it much easier for you. Now, we state our position with an adverb to show how much. This idea fully supports the idea of disbelief, or just disbelief. So, fully, completely, totally, wholeheartedly. There are many others, but just use an adverb to make it clear to the examiner how much. That's the critical issue. Fully support is fine. So then we follow this with a thesis statement. A thesis statement tells the examiner how the essay is going to be structured and what it's going to talk about. Many students do not do this because also many students are not taught this by their teachers. This makes a good essay better. Most examiners, in fact nearly all examiners, will look for a thesis statement. If there's not one there, your score automatically cannot get as high as it could otherwise get. So, our thesis statement is: individual and business responsibility and government spending priorities will be covered to support this view. So what I'm saying is, my view is I agree with this, and I'm going to talk about individual and business responsibility and government spending priorities in my essay. That's what I'm going to use to support my position. So this is telling the reader what the essay will talk about and how they support the stated opinion. I'll change that. That should say what, but I don't really need to redo the whole video. I'm sure you can see that. So, our introduction. And I've also put the number of words here because it's important that you make sure that you're aware of how many words you're writing. Over 250, no problem. Under 250, problem. So keep an eye on your words. An introduction should be up to 50 words. Between 30 and 50 is fine. So my introduction is now: there are those who believe that businesses, together with citizens, should shoulder the costs of disposing of their pollutants rather than the state. This essay fully supports this belief. Individual and business responsibility and government spending priorities will be covered to support this view. So that's my introduction. It's 44 words. It's covered the three main requirements for the introduction. It's paraphrased the title effectively. It's provided the writer's position on the topic. And it states the structure and content of the essay. Okay, so going on to our first paragraph. This will focus on individual and company responsibility. I've put discourse markers, which are signposts that you will use to guide the reader, in blue. So, to begin, tells the reader this is my first point and my first paragraph. Society as a whole, meaning private citizens and business entities, need to take the lion's share of responsibility. Here's my topic sentence. This will force them to have a major rethink regarding their attitudes to waste disposal. That's my supporting sentence. The reason I said what I did, this is why I said it. As an example, research has shown that many of both business and individuals have readjusted their behavior when given this type of responsibility. The responsibility means basically they have to shoulder the burden. When fines were introduced for households who did not adhere to recycling guidelines, behavior changed dramatically and guidelines were more strictly followed. This is my example. This is what happened in the UK. People were hit with fines, or started to get hit with fines if they didn't recycle properly. So they changed their behavior and they did recycle properly. So this shows that putting the onus on people and companies has produced effective change. So this is my summary sentence. This tells me what the paragraph is about. So we move on to our second paragraph. Secondly, governments have to prioritize their spending for more urgent needs of the population. Topic sentence. Healthcare is the number one need for all members of society, and as that society grows and people live longer, the financial burden increases. That's my supporting sentence. In the UK, for example, the populace has almost doubled since the introduction of free healthcare, and the system is seriously underfunded. The government has, quite rightly, prioritised funding as an urgent requirement. This is my example. Remember, your examples don't have to be exactly correct. They don't have to come from detailed, meticulous research. Show an example that this is how you're showing an example. Your examples do not have to be exactly real world. It helps if the information is good and accurate, but it does not have to be. Thus, it is fair to say that prioritizing is necessary. So that's just a summary sentence to say this paragraph was about prioritizing, namely government prioritizing. So you can see our body paragraphs are 92 words and 79 words respectively. Our two body paragraphs are followed by our conclusion, which should contain three things. It should restate the topic, restate your position, and summarize. To sum up, whether the responsibility for cleaning up pollutants rests with the state or society is the point in question. This essay believes that it should rest clearly with businesses and citizens. Placing the burden on both will have positive effects. And that has 42 words. So, they're the different stages of our essay. So, underneath is our complete essay with question. You can read the essay again. It's just followed the pattern that we've taken. Really, I just want to point out that, as you can see, it's 257 words. You can write up to 280, 290 words, but again, you're governed by time. Don't write too many if you don't need to. Write what is required and a few more. This structure is the one recommended by almost all IELTS teachers, sorry, spelling mistake there, instructors, etc. Understanding and following this structure leads to a clear, coherent, easy to follow essay. Oh, easy. This is what the examiner is looking for, as well as the level of grammar and vocabulary that you know is required. So that's the end of this lesson. I will redo this just to iron out a few small things, and I will check more carefully in my next video. If you want to see more information, please go to our website. It's in English and in Chinese for our Weibo or Weibo visitors. Thank you very much, and tune in for more videos.